Good morning. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot hear Steve.
I cannot hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day a new struggle. It is comical at this point. Well, happy Tuesday to you guys. I hope that we are all starting with some pep in our step. Anybody have anything in particular that you just got to get off your chest and bring to this call? Who's got something? Should have had some offers accepted yesterday. Monday's usually a busy day in our world. Anybody want to talk through maybe a deal that they put together?
I submitted an offer, but I don't know yet. So
Was there a deadline, Rumani?
today 9 a.m.
Today by 9 a.m. Okay. How good was the conversation, interactions with the listing agent?
I mean, it was difficult, but she will reply on text, but it was really difficult. Like she wouldn't pick up phone call ever. Like after now, I'm kind of in the last 6 years, don't want to call too much. So I was leaving text, but she replied, got back to me for the text messages, but calling was really hard. I called to confirm if the offer letter was received because there's no email ID on the MLS, just that yellow box, and sometimes those ones are iffy. So then I couldn't. She didn't pick up. I don't know. So then I texted her. I haven't heard back. So I'm hoping she has received it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've kind of talked through this.
Yeah.
There's just not much you can do in these situations where the other agent can't return with a phone call. And I really don't understand it. I don't see how you could be that busy that you can't. Some sort of a reply. Like I said, multiple offers, 20, 30 offers, you should still be able to reply. That's your job. Your job is to have conversations with these buyer's agents to see if we can get the best possible offer for your seller. So,
yeah, I think they have like 10, 15 offers for this one. So, I guess she's not worried. So.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is she should be worried, right? That's great that you've got offers, right? I think this is where some confusion lies, where getting an offer and getting the house sold was your job. That wasn't your job. Your job was to get the most amount of money with the best terms for your client. Like that was your job. Just getting it sold in a market where you put the property up with decent photos and you get 10 or 15 offers, anybody could have done that. So having conversations to make sure we got the terms right, we understand the buyer, we understand the lender, we understand, what the home inspection process is going to be like. When is the home inspection going to be, right? So if we've talked about this in the past, where we can't, in Massachusetts, we're going to enter a world where you can't write that we are going to waive inspections. So as a buyer's agent, one of the things that we can do is we can say, hey, we've already got inspection set for tomorrow. Deadline was due today. I've called my inspector. He can be out there tomorrow to do the inspections. These are the little things that we can do to strengthen the offer.
Yeah. So the listing agent this isn't a basement, but there was a crawl space. So the listing agent has actually never been to that area. My buyer and I went in, and he had a couple of questions. There's a stream of water coming through the crawl space. And we had a couple of questions, but she had no idea what was down there because she said she has never been there. So it was kind of funny that you're listing and you have no idea what the material
facts. This is beautiful. This is just oh my God. Just
and then
comical.
I was submitting.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's weird. I didn't look at that when I listed the property. I mean, guys, don't put yourself in these positions. You've got to see every square inch of these properties outside of maybe you couldn't get up into the attic.
Yeah.
We really need to look at the properties. We need to know what we're marketing. We need to know, right? We need to take into consideration when there's a stream running in the crawl space, have the buyers seen that? Because I promise you the inspector is going to get down there. So if we bring this property to market, we got 10 offers. Which ones of those offers brought their buyers down into the crawl space and saw the running water?
Yeah.
Yours did. And we're still
Yes.
making this offer at this price, right? These are critical points. Does anybody else just want to kind of chime in, or what am I missing? I get Lauren.
So not to like the buyer side, but to list side and then, doing your job. It's not about just having the offers and taking the one with the highest price. I was speaking with one of our agents yesterday, and she had 3 offers on a property that she was listing. And she had one really high, fear that it might not even appraise, like stupid high. One low, but had some really good terms that were very favorable, right? And that was the lowest price. And you had one kind of sitting in the middle, but good communication from the agent. So we had, the conversation that she doesn't have to just automatically go with one, right? She could go back to all 3 of them and have the conversation. Hey, we have multiple offers. We kind of have this price range, but we have some terms on some that are more favorable to us, right? So if anybody is willing to kind of, rework their offers, we're kind of do a final invest for the 3 of you, since we were all pretty close and had something that we liked about each of them. Here was kind of those things that we liked, so you all have that information if you're wanting to include it. And then I will re-review all the offers that we have in, this day, this time.
I love it. I love it. I want to hear from some of my more experienced agents. What are you thinking? What am I missing? What haven't we covered? We talked about this. I don't know if it was yesterday into last week, but what else haven't we talked about on this, about why you need to be so involved when you're on the listing side, that just getting and collecting the offers? Any other little tidbits that we haven't talked about? Or maybe we've covered most of it. Stacy, what do you got?
So I've had that happen before. I don't even know why agents say that when they list properties, that they have no idea what's going on with that particular thing in the house. I don't know if it's because they think that they can't get in trouble if they don't know about it, but it's very odd. I have had that before. I've had water in a basement and an agent said, just like the same thing. I've never seen that water. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, so I feel like
Yeah.
it's, they're trying
Did
to
you ever
get in.
go in the basement? Because it's there. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, they just deny it and think they can't get in trouble. I don't know why.
yeah, we definitely want to just get this stuff out in the open, right? Like if I was that listing agent on that property, I want to point that out. Hey, are you aware? Like I remember I showed a property with a fieldstone foundation. It was the most immaculate barn, like kind of like barnish feeling house I've ever shown. It's probably a 1700s build, legit fieldstone, entire foundation, and legitimately had a stream running through. In the disclosures, there's a stream that runs through the basement. It's been running through the basement since these people have owned it for whatever, 30 years. Like, we're looking for a buyer that's cool with there's a stream running through the basement. And,
Yeah, I
you
feel like
get an
that's what we're
inspector.
supposed to do.
Yeah, you get an inspector out there. They take a look at it. Foundation's solid. No worries. What were you going to say, Stacy?
That's what I always do. I just am upfront and honest about what's going on, and then we have a conversation. It's so easy. It's just, I
Yeah.
don't know why some people just don't do it.
Yeah. Well, we do have Kate Garvey with us today. Kate, did you have anything going on any transactions that you wanted to kind of bring to the forefront, or anything from the legal side that you wanted to address today?
I actually have a couple of questions for agents.
Okay, let's do it.
So I've seen it more in Connecticut. You guys can hear me, right?
We can hear you, but you're far away. We can't see that. There we go.
There we go. You want to see my beautiful face?
Yes.
So when you do a title search, it goes back and it, examines deeds and mortgages and discharges and all that kind of stuff. And it does not go back and do if there's any open permits. So what I've seen lately I've seen this more in Connecticut than Massachusetts. are attorneys doing municipal searches. And that goes back and goes, you know, to make sure there's no outstanding permits or any other municipal issues. It's relatively new, but I didn't know if you guys had any experience with that, or because, you know, it's an additional cost. And I didn't know if you guys have experienced that, have any pushback from that, think it's great. I don't know if any of you guys have experienced any of it, because I'm just wondering if it's something
Should be
we've been
offering
discussing adding that as like a,
right.
you know,
Additional
well,
service.
are you want to pay the extra $150 to get this done, kind of thing?
Right.
I wouldn't just automatically do it. I think that I would leave that up to the client, but I just didn't know if you guys had any experiences, good, bad, or ugly, with that.
Go ahead, Chris. Chris, is this the first time you've raised your hand?
Yes, it is. I don't raise my hand.
I know you don't.
Hi,
You don't.
Chris.
Hi, honey.
You're like
it's
sitting
school
there just
vacation.
waiting. Call on me. Call on me.
It's school vacation up till 11 working. I'm taking this call from bed. So
All right,
that's
all
why
right.
you ain't having no thing on. Kate, I'm running into this a few times. There's a few agents out there. I mean, I guess we could say that are doing their job phenomenal, that are buyer's agents, or we could say that are playing inspectors. I don't know which way you want to call it. But there's a few out there now that have been come to me on a couple properties and be like, "Do you know if this permit was closed?" And I know Adam will know a lot about this. Um, and I'm like, I didn't even know it was open. It was from like 2000 and whatever. So I call, I find out, and usually it is and it's done. But there was one time that they did have to come out and look at something. So when I am listing now, I have added that to my checklist, Kate, not your checklist. You know,
Okay.
I've added it to mine that I call the town and ask, you know, I think you can see, Adam, you can stop it, jump in, but there is somewhere on the field card too that will say it sometimes in some towns. But what I've added is just calling the building department and saying, "Hey, I'm listing this house. Are there any open permits?"
My initial take is I'm kind of like with Chris on this. As much as I'd love to push it off to you, Kate, I feel like this is just like a agent thing, like, or just, you know, have the seller do it and confirm that it got done.
No, don't have the seller do it.
Yeah,
They're not, they're going to confirm it was done, Steve, and then it's
Yeah.
going to come up at the last minute.
Yeah. Just make the call yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
haven't seen like people putting it on a CD or anything like that?
I haven't.
Okay. Because I feel I agree with you. I kind of think it is an agent thing to do, but I didn't know if, you know, you guys have been experiencing the additional search and if it was beneficial.
I don't know that it hurts to, and I see your hand, Margaret, get it, to offer it, Kate. Hey, you know,
Yeah.
it seems like it's more like on the buy side that you'd be referring to this, right? Like not, I don't know that you're going to, yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of time, I mean, they've just become a little bit more picky when it comes to permits and stuff like that as well. So, I mean, somebody bought the house 10 years ago and permits were left open and nobody knew about it. Now people are picking up on things like that. So I do think we're going to offer it. And if that's something that somebody wants us to do, we can do that. But I just didn't know if you guys have.
That's my initial thought, is you should offer it.
Yeah.
Or you should have the agent do their job. But because the other big thing now is that the agents are like, was a permit filled? Was a permit pulled? Was a permit pulled when you did the roof? No, the people were walking down the street and they stripped the roof. You know what I mean? And it's then you are running into other things. But
All right, Margareta, what do you got?
Well, it's I personally check those kind of things when I do list or even buy. But just as an FYI, with bank-owned properties, it's part of the checklist to check any outstanding permits, taxes, any any violations even. That's another big one. it's a good thing to get into that, because then you don't have any, I think it just makes the transaction more apparent, and you have more leverage either way to either fix things as a seller, or as a buyer, you have leverage on the price or resolution.
Yeah. Brett, I don't know if you're in a position to talk. I'm assuming you've pulled lots of permits in your day. Do you just have any just general thoughts if you're in a position on permit pulling, open permits, anything coming to mind that would be a good share for the group?
I mean, I usually want them, get them either closed out by the seller previous, because I've run into problems where, you know, work isn't done and then it becomes or not done correctly, and it just becomes a huge cost burden for me. So I usually want everything signed off appropriately. I don't want anything open.
Prior to you acquiring it, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've gotten burned the other way,
Yeah.
and then you just can't get it back, and then you're opening up walls, doing, more structural work to prove to an inspector for you to get your sign offs.
So
That
just
was a mess.
coming from the building side, and now coming over to the agent side and representing buyers, what are your thoughts? Do you think, hey, just as a buyer's agent, I'm just going to make this call to represent my buyer so that they don't get stuck with this? Is that kind of your feel? And
Yeah, I mean, I'd want every situation is going to be a little different, but I'd get all the information for them and say, this is what we're gonna, this is what we should request from the seller, and if we don't get it, this is what you need to expect on the other side. And luckily, if I'm there with them, I could, kind of walk them through the whole process of, what the issues may be. But no, I don't want to put that burden on them, because I don't want them to think that I did them a disservice.
yeah, it definitely seems like if a buyer were to purchase that property and then find out after the fact they get open permits, and then find out that it's not just something where it was a sign off where they got to come out and sign off. It's, hey, we want you to open up the walls. It sure seems like you let your client down at that point.
Yeah, because you could then need to get a structural engineer involved. There's just other costs that are going to be involved with it, to satisfy, what could be a new, building inspector, who's not familiar with the property. This stuff was done, for somebody before him. So, you never know what you're going to
That's a
get.
really good point, right? Like the town just hired a new building inspector who's, extremely strict. The last guy would have signed off. This guy goes, no, we don't have any notes on this, and I want this back to the studs.
Right.
Good point. Adam.
Good morning. So I think it obviously depends on what the permit is as well. So if you have an open permit for like a pellet stove, or maybe you replaced a toilet or a sink or something, that's obviously not going to be an issue, and I'll close it out. But when you get into the bigger alterations like additions and larger renovations, kitchen renovations, full bathroom renovations, you're definitely going to want those pulled out. As Brett said, we've had instances, not on my projects, but other projects, where they'll make you open up the walls. So I know in Florida, it's definitely a standard practice to do title search that includes open permits, and I think everything down here is more online friendly. So I think it's a little bit easier. When I had asked why they don't do it up north, because I do think it's a lack, it's something that's missed. I absolutely think it should be part of the closing process. They just said that it's kind of a manual process, so there's no way to just click a button and say, are there open permits? Every town's different, kind of like I know Connecticut is a little bit more difficult with recording than Mass. So I would argue that you should absolutely be doing it. So the other thing is, what can happen is the town will only allow a you guys taking off?
Yeah.
All right, love you, have a good day. So the other thing that can happen is each town will only allow you to have a certain amount of open permits before they won't allow you to have another permit as a contractor. So I don't know that it's ever going to come up that it's going to be an issue for the seller until they resell. I don't know that they're like going through open permits, but what could happen is that contractor could have a couple open permits, and now he can't pull anything, and now he's going to have to try and close other ones, and now 5-10 years later you could have an issue. So there's so many reasons why these should be closed out, but the larger alterations are going to be the bigger issues.
So just a couple of things I wanted to clarify there that I thought I heard you say. Number one is that the permit process, the open permit checking is part of a title, what the title company does on the regular in Florida.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then second, I heard you say that some towns are going to restrict the number of open permits that a specific contractor could have. So contractor, I'm a handyman. I can only have 5 open permits at any time. I have one open on this house. It never gets closed out. I go to pull my 6th. It's 2 years later and they say, no, you can't do another permit. Oh, that's right. I never closed that one out. We go to close that one out and it's a new homeowner and we've got a problem. Is that? Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will say, like, there's reasons why permits are open sometimes. I mean, sometimes these inspectors, we've had some pretty ridiculous requests. We were doing a roof in Connecticut, and we had to re-nail the whole roof. We had to weather strip all the seams. It was more than we've ever seen before. So we obviously complied and got the closed permit, but sometimes these inspectors are so tough that the contractor's like, screw you, I'll just leave it open. No one's going to know. And so there's a reason why they're open sometimes. Other times it's just administrative issues. It was actually supposed to be closed out and didn't. Yeah, you're definitely going to want them closed out.
Margaret, I saw your hand up again. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think I hinted on it, but I also want to highlight that when those permits do stay open, that sometimes evolves into a violation with the city, where then the owner of the home has to pay fines. This is pretty serious. I mean, depends, especially if there's any tenants involved. So I know we don't necessarily deal with a lot of violations, but those things are real and they're pretty expensive. So it's sometimes a pretty serious matter. So I highly recommend looking into that. It's not a common thing, thank God, but when it does happen, it's a serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, is your hand just lagging or did you have more to add?
No, I'm good. Kate, you should absolutely be, I think for a CYA situation, you absolutely should be offering that. I mean, look, as agents, we probably don't want that because it's going to cause issues. But I would be pissed if I was an uninformed buyer and found out I just closed on a house with open permits, because I would be asking why wasn't that part of the checklist.
Yeah, and that's happened to me, because usually permits don't come up up here, at least in a normal title search. But I've just realized that people are kind of starting to address those a little bit more than they have in the past, which I think is smart, right? Because I mean, to everyone's point out there, it could be costly, it could be a pain in the butt. But I think we are going to add that as an option. We will actually add that as an option because I think it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, and for you guys as agents, what I think we need to do is how we're going to document. I'm guessing it's just an email to all parties. Hey, I just spoke with John Smith over at the town. John confirmed on this date that there are no open permits on the property. Like, we should have a documentation of some sort. I don't know if somebody has a better process for it. Obviously, if it's a town that has the online stuff going on, then we could take a screenshot and send that out. Hey, I just checked online. There are no open permits, but we should document, because it could be that, the town tries to come back and say, no, there was. It's like, hey, come on. Like, we did our due diligence. We spoke to this person. So, Margareta?
And, it is just that. It's a phone call to the town hall. It's a pretty quick conversation. It's not that involved. Hit the building department, hit the health department. Are there any, violations? Are there any, whatever problems? I mean, obviously, if it's a beautiful house, there probably isn't, but you never know. Like, some dog poops somewhere and there's a problem. I don't, all sorts of things. But that's the bottom line. It is relatively simple. It's a phone call to the town hall, 5-10 minutes of your day.
Anyone else have anything to add regarding the permit stuff? Anybody just want to share an experience around calling? Hey, this was the situation. Anything that an agent should know about, closing it out? I guess, yeah, go ahead, Stacy.
So I use an attorney in Boston and he always calls. I don't know if it's that he doesn't want me calling. So there's that as well. I think it's maybe agent to agent or attorney to attorney dependent, because I did used to call for years and now I don't, because this one particular attorney wants to do the calling. So I don't know if anyone else has experience with that.
Yeah, so maybe just a conversation with the attorney of who's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
So we don't have two people doing it.
I've seen a lot more out in the Boston area that the attorneys do it. I don't see it that often out here yet, but in the Boston area I have, and in Connecticut. I see it more in Connecticut.
And why even wait that long till it gets to the attorney? Like, again, if it's just another step an agent can do, let's just do it. I mean, I'm all about knowing my facts beforehand.
Yeah. And like Margaretta said, this is quick and easy. This is not you don't have to go there. You don't have to, this is not a big lift. Adam.
The other big one is the underground oil tanks. So I know those don't show up anywhere. The only way that I check it when I purchase is you got to call the non-emergency fire department line and just see if they have records. And they're not going to tell you, all they're going to tell you is, we don't have records. That doesn't mean that there was never a tank installed or removed. But that's another, obviously, potential huge expense that I'm sure gets missed. I mean, obviously, if there's any remnants of it, the home inspector should be able to pick it up. Usually there's some low pipes or some thin, pipes in the lower part of the basement. But that's just another one to be aware of. That's not going to show up anywhere. Like, that's not even going to show up on an online search because those things were installed years ago.
Yeah, let's just go dive a little bit deeper on that one, and we'll close with that thought. So just so everybody understands, right, prior to putting these oil tanks in the basement, they were literally buried underground, and you ran pipes into the basement, and then they had, you have the ability to fill it. So there are numerous situations where that either got, they emptied it and then they fill them, and then they put one in the basement, or they actually physically remove it out of the ground. So the problem is sometimes that stuff is not documented, right? So there could be documentation of it being installed, but never removed. And so at least just do your due diligence. I know that's one of the steps that we do put on the buyer to cover ourselves as part of one of the emails that we send out, that you should go and do this. Because that, for a lot of these towns, you literally have to go down there and check their files. You can't just call in. They're going to say, nope, you got to come down here. That I kind of think is going above and beyond. But we should at least notify the buyer. This is a big potential risk. We think you should do this. So I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts on underground oil tank. I mean, the liabilities on underground oil tank could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the contamination that results from it. So this is a big deal.
I actually have a friend, this isn't my deal, but it's a friend's deal up in the Berkshires, where there was an underground oil tank that the owner removed by himself without letting anybody know, which is a huge no-no because there's like a whole process to that. And now the DEP is involved. So you don't want that either.
Yeah. So when you remove these, what they're going to do is they're going to do a soil sample and make sure that nothing leaked, nothing got contaminated around it. And so what you want is that documentation that says, yes, it was removed, soil samples are good, everything's clean. That's the ideal situation. Awesome. Really good stuff today. Appreciate all the input from everybody. Go have yourselves an awesome Tuesday. Thanks, Kate, for your input and joining us as you always do. We'll get back after it again tomorrow morning. Go have yourselves a great Tuesday. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Chris.
Bye.